Hello, dear ones. I think we have all been well trained, or maybe I should say, well programmed to not be ourselves. You can just look back in your life. I can do the same. And there is just some kind of a tendency for most of us to try and be like others, or to try and be better than we are, or different than we are, and having a lot of judgments about who we are. So generally, we have a way of squashing ourselves and maybe trying to turn ourselves into some shape that will be more like what somebody else looks like, who seems to be more successful or more loved, more liked than we are. And then we believe that we need to be like them. And in that way, we squash our own unique, true expression. And what I have seen over the years is that there is a flow, an energetic frequency flow in each one of us. And it's very, very unique. It's not meant to be compared with others, certainly not meant to be squashed or exaggerated or suppressed or whatever we do with that, or be ashamed of, or try to hide it, pretend we're different than we are. And that's kind of the theme of the last few videos, where I talked about the hooks of the matrix that pull us in. And I went through a lot of these items that I'm just mentioning now. So here we are. We are born into this dimension, and we are a full and complete flow and expression of the divine, because that's our true nature. We cannot really be anything other than that, but we can certainly pretend we are. It doesn't work. It doesn't make it so. It just makes it so that we leave our natural flow and live outside of the flow, and then trying to create a life and fulfillment out here. And I would say, good luck. You probably already know that that's never going to happen. So, in order to connect with this flow, we really have to turn completely back onto who we truly are. And because we have built so many layers on top of who we are that we are now identified with, and we don't like those identities, most of us. There are some who really like their identities, but then they're still separate from their flow because they are very identified with that expression that is disconnected from the flow and the fulfillment. So if we are not able to fully meet ourselves exactly how we experience ourselves, and by that I mean the identities that we have taken on, the misidentifications that we have confused ourselves with, and believing that that's who we are. And we don't like those parts for the most part because they're not really who we are. That is usually why we don't like them, and or we say, like, I don't like myself. But it's because you don't know yourself. It's because you have left the flow. And that is, of course, because of the programming and the illusion that we live in, that we are confused and we believe ourselves to be the illusion, which is a separate identity, separated from the divine, separate from the flow. And we do not like it because it's not who we are, if I may repeat myself. So here we are, we're programmed to believe we are something other than the flow, the divine fulfillment. We believe we're this, we start living a life, and we don't like it. So there's this suppressing, suppressing, suppressing. And all we do is give this false identity so much energy that it feels more and more real, right? We don't like this part. So then we try and overcome it and become better or different and comparing, and we do all kind of things to not meet that false self. Can you follow me? Can you relate to that? We're all doing it. And it's because we are programmed. It's very impersonal. It has nothing to do with who you truly are. The one that you think you are and that you don't like, and that you try and, look prettier, more sexy, more successful, have more money, have the right car, whatever it is. That is not who you are. And as long as you feed that, or resist that, you are identified with it, and all your energy goes here. You do not reach your divine flow as long as all your energy goes out to all these false identities. So, what I'm suggesting is that we learn to fully meet ourselves as we experience ourselves. I'm not going to say as we are, because those false identities are not who we are, even though we believe that's who we are. So it's learning to meet ourselves with love. That's why self-love has been kind of the main glue in everything I've shared for so many years. It is bringing everything that we have been pushing out there. We stop resisting who we have believed we are, and we just allow it. We just let ourselves experience our insecurity, our jealousy, our greed, all the parts of ourselves that we hate and that we don't want anybody to know about. And we even deny it to ourselves. So maybe the first step is to allow yourself to admit to yourself, like, yeah, I'm greedy. Now I'm saying I'm greedy, right? As if it's your true I, but it is the part that's separate from yourself that behaves in a greedy, jealous way because it thinks it needs to get something out in the world in order to survive and be fulfilled. So the one that's greedy and jealous and whatever it is, that is not who you are. So it's safe to just meet it head on. So let's use the word jealous. You're jealous because, your friend is much more successful or has a much better relationship or whatever it is. So you're jealous. So why don't you just pause and admit to yourself? You can just start with yourself. It's like, yeah, I'm really jealous. Then if you can do that without judging yourself or shaming yourself or making yourself wrong, that's kind of the first step that we can meet our expression, true or not, that we can meet that with a sense of yes, a sense of allowing. You create a space around it so you can start to be present with it. And I talked about that the last few days too. You just learn to allow that expression to be here. And if you can do it with a curiosity, with a sense of, yes, okay, I'm willing, I don't like it, but I am willing to just allow that part of me to be here. Then we can do the deeper work. Now, if this is new for you, you probably need to reach out and get some help with that work, because it's like a 180 turn. It's like you have to meet yourself and the world in a whole new way. And that takes some practice, and it takes some modeling, and it takes having somebody else help you, for instance, to not judge yourself for what's coming up, or at least be present with it in a new way. So that's up to you. You're welcome to set up a self-discovery session with me if you want to explore that with me. But when we can meet those parts, those separate sense of self that we have been identifying with and that we have been suppressing and hiding, all that energy is basically suppressing our true flow. So inside of each of us, there is a natural, organic, fulfilled, loving, divine flow. And this flow maintains and sustains itself at all times because there is nothing lacking. It's like a fountain, a never-ending fountain that just shares, expresses, splashes. And it's just made of itself, which is love, which is light, which is beauty. So there's nothing in there that we need to change. The only thing we need to change is to stop leaving it. And that's the hardest thing for most of us. But when we are afraid and ashamed to be ourselves, and that could be, you're afraid to speak up, you're afraid to share your wisdom or your knowledge. So you keep suppressing that. And in that, you stay disconnected from the flow and what you're looking for. So, very important. And this is why I have suggested, not just recently actually, to be in some kind of a group setting where that is what everybody wants. They want to learn to just be themselves, be honest, with whatever messiness or enlightenment, something that we have been afraid to share publicly, even with one person or even with ourselves. So once you start like, okay, I'm going to admit it, I'm just, I'm having all these negative thoughts and I'm just going to admit it today. If it's just to yourself, do so in the best way you can. If it's with a friend, if it's in a safe group setting, just do it and let yourself be witnessed with love and acceptance. It's like, yeah, this is like the first layer that we're beginning to soften. And then as it softens, then there's more layers and more layers. So it is very much a practice that we need to practice every day. And then eventually, by just meeting all these parts of ourselves that we don't like, that we're ashamed of, that we have been hiding, whatever it is, as we start owning them in a circle where that is the whole goal, to help soften all this. So then the next and the next, and little by little, you come all the way into yourself. It's like the what's it called? The pearl in the onion, I think it's called. Yeah. So then you come to that, and that now you're connected with your divine essence, with it's your soul connection. And now you can start living from that. So what I'm trying to say today, that all these layers of pretending we are not what we don't like about ourselves, those layers need to soften. You can't get rid of them or change them because they're not true. There's nothing there. It's just an idea. It's hypnotic suggestion that you have bought into. So all you need to do is just meet it, just meet it. And every time you meet it without judging it and without getting into the story, it softens and more until you come back here. Now you're in the flow. Now you're in the truth. And all this stuff that kept you from the truth, when that's not getting your attention in that same way, now you can start focusing on this and start realizing that your fulfillment has always been here. So now it's a matter of learning to focus and open up to that because it's been closed down. So now we also need to practice, you know, oh, it's here. Oh, yes, please. Yes, me too. I'm willing. Show me. Can you see it's such a different energy than just pushing and resisting and pushing this down? And then as this softens and dissolves, now you're here. And now you can put your attention there and live in a 24/7 prayer of listening and opening and being willing to be lived by the flow. So there is a deep, deep surrender there. And that is what we're all working on. Me too. But I'm sharing from, like, as I move through the layers, I'm sharing what happens. It's not just something I read in a book. This is like, oh. So there's more and more clarity coming as I deepen into this, and it will be the same for you, of course, because we're all one. It's all the same. We're all that same flow. We just have to get into it and find out, how does my flow flow? How does my flow flow? And how do I learn to serve my own flow and not comparing with others? And in that surfing it, that's when you will find your fulfillment and you will be connected to what you've been longing for. So if this resonates and you feel you need help, you can always join me on my once a month Tuesday morning gathering, where we're very much learning to connect back into this. And there's also a sweet open sharing, just like what I'm talking about, when we start softening and sharing these layers, then everybody else can go like, oh yeah, me too. And well, if she can share it or he can share it, then maybe it's safe. And it's like, well, I have that too. And in that, the layer starts softening. And it's really good to do it in a group where everybody agrees that it's okay, that this is what we do here, so that you feel safe. But we need to start with the layers. And then it's just a natural melting into your true self. So that's what I want to share today. Join my Tuesday meeting next month, June. First Tuesday, reach out if you need support. Set up a self-discovery session with me. Please like, comment, share if it resonates, and share with your friends. Maybe your friends want to come and they realize like, yeah, I want to do this too. So then you'll have people that you can practice this with. And then together, more of us come into the flow, more flows enters this dimension. And who knows what can happen? It can only be good. Thank you.